Welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 246. I'm your host, Greg Gow. The gang's all here. We got Mike and Jill and Big Dennis back, and John and Don and Luff and Lenny and Garth and Jeremy and Snowgy and and Dennis and Jim and Dewan and Wayne and probably other people who don't want to turn their camera on, and that's okay. Let's talk slot cars. I have a show and tell. I'll start off with, and if you have a show and tell, raise your virtual hand or try to wave your real hand while I'm looking. Virtual hands work a lot better for me, but let me do some screen sharing. You have to. You do not have a choice. Okay, so some of you may have seen this already. I posted it on Slot Forum and on my Facebook group. This is a bearing cradle axle bracket for the GNS tire grinder. I'd never seen that kind of thing because I'd never trued comms or trudes or whatever. But it was pointed out to me that this was something that's common on comm lathes and stuff like that. I first learned about it on freeslaughter.de, where somebody suggested this kind of thing for a tire truer. And I'm like, well, that's a good idea. So I messed around with it. This is the prototype. Because of how this functions, it does limit the versatility of the machine, because the machine was designed so that you can do pretty much anything, right? You can pop an axle out of a Carrera or a Scalextric car and pop it in with the bushings. You can, take whatever, right? The advantages of this is that you don't have to worry about bushings anymore. You don't have to worry about finding bushings that fit whatever axle you're going to do. Like slotted don't even come with the flange bushings, they come with the spherical bushings. You don't have to worry about how much slop there is in your Scalextric bushings because of the knurled axles. This just takes care of all that, right? But it takes up space. So if you're doing a Carrera, for example, this is a rear axle out of a Carrera 132nd Porsche 917. There is not enough room on the axle for the split pulley and both of the bushings to be either inside or outside of the bearing cradles for the axle to rest in. The only way to do it is by not using the split pulley. If this was a Sidewinder, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but any inline with such a narrow track is going to need to be done like this. But that really only applies to cars with narrow tracks and bushings that you can't remove, plastic wheels, narrow tracks, crown gears, and probably I can't do a Mini Cooper, classic Mini Cooper on this. If it's 143rd, you're going to have problems. This is not going to be standard feature of the GNS tire grinder. I still prefer snap-in bushings. I provide 3/32 and 3mm double flange bushings in the kits now. So this will be an upgrade option. Also because you got to buy bearings, that increases the price. It increases my costs, therefore increases your costs. So I'm not going to make this a standard feature, but people can request it if they really want to. It has not undergone extensive testing. However, I did do some testing with to see if the bearing cradle is sufficient in its current design to hold the axle in place with just the drive band, and it is. If you don't have the motor spinning and you move the wheels towards the sanding drums, then it can be pushed out of the bearing cradle. But if the machine is actually spinning the correct direction, right? So the wheels should be turning in a direction that drives them into the bearing cradles, and it doesn't pop out. So I even cranked it down so that there was so much pressure between the wheels, tires, and the sanding drums that it overcame the drive pulley and spun the wheels the opposite direction, according to the sanding spindle pushing them the wrong direction. So I don't think this is going to have any issues functionally while you're using it, but still preliminary. Other people are going to try it out. We'll see what the consensus is. I'm going to bring a set of forks to Alan's tonight and probably put it on one of his machines, and I'm sure he'll use it a bunch and tell me what he thinks about it. Any questions?
Can you hear me, Greg?
All right, hearing none, we're going to...
I had a question, but I just thought somebody else had asked something. It looks to me, if I'm looking at this picture, that the bearing on the right side there is not straight. It is not at a good straight angle to the axle.
Yeah. This is the prototype. I had too much space between the forks that hold the bearings, so
okay,
it's a little bit sloppy.
And then secondly, do you have any feel for whether there is any improvement or degradation in the concentricity of the tires once you've ground them?
I'm going to let other people play with it and do that, because I've never had a problem with the sloppy scalextric bushings anyways, because...
Well, the sloppy scalextric bushings are a slightly different problem, because they may well be sloppy, but the drive band pulls the axle down until it's constantly in contact. So the only non-concentricity that you can get is as a result of the out of roundness of the axle. Not even run out, but just the out of oval, or the ovality of the axle.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Whereas
that's way beyond. Maybe I should send a machine to Joachim or something. I don't know, or Ian Douglas,
No,
or I'll send you some
asking.
new forks,
Okay.
Dennis, if you want to put it on yours. Yeah, that's...
Anyway, so and of course the better quality bearing you've got, the more concentric it will be, and therefore the better the tires will be too.
Absolutely true. For the GNS tire grinder, honestly, the main advantage is not having to worry about double flanged bushings that snap.
Agreed.
Just being able to slap whatever axle, 1/8, 3/32, slightly large 3/32, or slightly small 3/32.
It's a big advantage.
Yeah. That's
Could you print that in place and pause it and put the bearings in and then finish so it's all one piece? It looks like you got two pieces there.
No, I'll show you the CAD. Hold on.
I was thinking if you print it in place, the bearings would never come out and they would always be set.
And then when they get dirty and you want to take them out to clean them, you can't do that, right?
No, you just print a new one.
Yeah.
All right, so did I choose the right screen? You should be looking at my CAD model.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two pieces. Basically, I just use the geometry of the original piece and then fit that to it. And
gotcha.
So they print nice and flat with no need for supports, just like I always try to do. And then you basically just press them together. Use the same screw that holds this stiffening bar to hold the pieces together, and it works. It works pretty well.
Right. If you want the axle set lower,
you're cutting out, Wayne. I can't hear you. You're cutting out. Might be a microphone issue.
Yeah, it might be. Am I any better now?
Yeah, as soon as you started speaking, we heard like the first word, and then your microphone clipped it out like it's trying to make you quiet.
I'll try again. I'm on a new machine.
Oh, that's better.
Okay, so if the axle jumping out the top of the bearings becomes a problem, all you need to do is move the bearings slightly further apart, and it'll sit deeper in between them.
That's true. However, due to the size of the bearings, it might cause too much, like a smaller, you want it to be working for lots of axles, right? A smaller axle might get pulled too hard between the bearings and force them apart. So basically, I have the bearings as close together as possible. The other suggestion was to have them at an angle so that as it pressed into the sanding drums, one bearing was higher up, so it's less likely to push it out.
No, I didn't. The suggestion was to move the bearings apart from one another.
No, I didn't say that was your suggestion. I said that was another suggestion.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
But quite honestly, if the center line of your axle is above the top face of the bearings, then it's a little high.
Again, I did some testing. I determined that the current design is good enough. Better is the enemy of good enough.
And perfect is the enemy of better.
Perfect is the enemy of better. I've shared the files. Phil has already printed some out. He's just got to dig out his bearings. They're fairly common bearings, 3 millimeter inner diameter, 6 millimeter outer diameter, 2.5 millimeter thickness. So they're nice and metric for the world to use. I welcome testing and feedback. Anybody who wants a set for their machine, by all means, contact me and we'll work it out and you can provide feedback. You know, just because I tested it successfully doesn't mean it'll work for everybody. So yeah. Moving on. I got lots of hands, so let's get to Mike and then we'll go to Dennis. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, the first thing is I have good news and I have bad news. The bad news is we lost Ratby on Saturday. For those of you who didn't hear it before that, he died of a massive heart attack on Saturday. So everybody was sad about that. But the good news for those of you that have been listening to me constantly having problems with my race control system or my management system, I think we got it. I think it will work fine. PC lap counter is getting there. Once you eliminate the problems with the idiot behind the keyboard, we'll be fine. So
one of those interface problems again, huh?
Yeah.
Between...
Perhaps you had some divine intervention, Mike.
Yeah, well, what can I say? Anyway, that's really all I have. All my other stuff is in the mail. So, but I wanted to, for those of you that have been listening to me constantly complaining about it, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is really.
Yeah, and is it like an LED or a train or?
Well, it's getting larger and larger.
Usually a train.
The sun. All right, thanks for the update, Mike. Moving on, go ahead, Mr. Sampson.
Is it me? Okay, let me just change over my camera quickly to this one. A couple of weeks back, I think I showed, maybe after we'd already logged off, I showed the blank version of this. This is a 1/24 scale, basically what used to be called an open 12 chassis. So it's something that's run on flat tracks. And this particular one was made as a kit by a friend of mine in South Africa, and he sent me the kit and I've just assembled it. I was hoping that Courtney would be on tonight because he was quite interested in it. The difference between this one and most of the normal ones is that it, as you can see at the back here, that it has a bracket where the motor is going to be mounted, and the reason for that is that it is designed to take a brushless motor. So it's just something I've been working on for a couple of days, putting it together. For those of you who've never put one of these together, when you get them, it's just one flat piece of steel with all the pieces basically laser cut in it, but all still as one piece of steel, which you then snap out and break away the little pieces that are not used, and then every little piece fits into a slot or a groove somewhere. You can see if you look at it from the underneath, for instance, that where those body pin tubes are, where my finger is, the piece that holds that in is in a slot. The rear axle mounts are in slots. There's a piece across the back here, which is called a bike bar, that sits inside other little brackets that are on the edges of on the chassis that are vertical, and they themselves fit into little slots or areas in the chassis. So it's all a matter of making sure that you put everything in the right place and then carefully soldering them all without soldering everything together. It was some of it, and when you start looking, and it's difficult because this damn camera doesn't really focus very well, but this little area down here at the back, where there are effectively three pieces or four pieces of steel, one on top of the other, and they all have to move and pivot because there's movement at the back of that. To get all that in there without soldering the whole lot solid was a fair amount of work. So that was one thing I wanted to show you guys. As I said, I was hoping Courtney would be on the call, but he's not, so he'll have to look at it when when he's watching the recording. And then this is something else that I got the other day from a friend of mine down here, a fellow by the name of Bruce Fry. Come on, focus. And it's just a little 1/32 scale vacuum formed interior for a car, but the workmanship on and I wish I could focus. Come on, focus. The workmanship on the driver. There you go. And the details, even the can you see the instruments?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
not only that, you get onto the fire extinguisher, and it even, quite from anything else, it has a label on it.
Oh.
So, and this guy does this stuff in his sitting in front of his TV at night. He says he doesn't he races hard bodies down here with us, and he's a really good builder. But the real thing that he does is these interiors. It's absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
For all those guys who say that vacuum form stuff has no detail, here you go. All right, that's me for now.
All righty, thank you for that. And go ahead, Mr. Broke.
Okay, I'll be right with you. Okay, so can you see the little open wheel I've got here?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so over the Christmas break, we closed down operations at Spitfire Raceway for a month. Pardon me. And I went out to the commercial track. A friend of mine runs now. He took it over from another guy recently, and which is now called West Adelaide Raceway for some reason. It's called Wall Raceway, but it's in the north. Work that one out. Must be an Australian thing. Sorry. So he runs a 24 scale open wheeler class. Basically, it's Formula Libra. You can build a scratch built, or you can run a shop ready to run car if you like. So I dragged this thing out of the bottom of my drawer that I built about 10 years ago, and as you can see, it's got a Vacform Lotus 49B body on it. I sort of did it in gold leaf colours, sort of, but just as a nod rather than a replica. So obviously, Hill isn't driving it. The guy's got a yellow helmet. I always paint my driver's helmets yellow as a nod to Paul Ferrer, the Belgian racing journalist. I read his book from Starting Grid to Checkered Flag when I was a kid, and I was very impressed by it, and it really got me into motorsport. Anyway, I digress. So there it is with the body off. The driver's glued to the motor because just to make it easier to fit the body and keep the driver in place. So it's just a single rail chassis with floating pans. It's got a Plarfit gear crown wheel on the back. I've actually reversed it because the hub's normally on the outside, but I haven't got enough room to fit into the motor bracket, so I've had to turn it around. Unfortunately, during the race, just before the race, the hub separated from the gear. Just a second, I need to mute. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah, so with about 2 minutes, well, about 5 minutes to go, it's separated, so I had to quickly super glue it back in. I'd used Loctite before that, but it didn't hold. And there's the underneath. Sorry. It currently runs. Can I come back? I'm having a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, you're fine.
You don't mind?
All done? All right. Hopefully you'll get rid of that cough, at least temporarily. All right, Big Dan, what you got?
Oh, me? Yeah, okie doke. Yeah.
The other Dennis.
I'm just worried about Lenny there. It looks like he's just gone for a bit of a break. Yeah, I'm going to start a share now. I sort of feel like I've gone to the dark side double time when you have a look at these. So I'm going to go hit for a share. Click here. And Not only is it 1/24th, it's digital. So this is one of 4 cars I was given. A Carrera, of course, by one of our group, or a member of our group. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of a not responding thing there, but that's all right. So that's just a bit of that's the what's affectionately known as the Ferrari bread van. I'm just can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, it's just that I'm getting an hourglass on my screen telling me that something's not responding. Okay, but okay, so I'll see if I can move to the next.
See if you can change
the
slides.
next
We're seeing
image.
the hourglass and your picture, and we hear you.
Yeah,
So it's not any of those things.
yeah.
Mouse back.
I might just stop the share and come back and start again. Yeah, okay.
Maybe your eggs are ready.
Exactly. Yeah, righto. Okay, no, that's little things still. Okay, let me try and open this in another. I'm using my friendly little graphics editor program called Earth and View. Let's see if I can open that. I'll go back to the folder and open up the picture in the Windows, whatever the Windows thing is. Photos, I think it's called on these. Yeah, okay. So right, so I don't use this one much because on most of my other computers it's so slow to load, and then you get little messages about, do you want to use artificial intelligence to do this and that, and oh, give me a break, Okay, so moving on, just another view of that one. Then we move on to a cheetah.
Except we can't see it.
Don't forget to
You
share,
forgot
'cause
to
you're
share.
Oh, sorry, let me go. My apologies. Let's go back.
Stuff's getting older.
Oh, so let's share. Yeah, that's right, because I changed apps, didn't I?
Well, actually, Dan is using a computer that is almost as old as we are.
I was given, it just seems to be the season for giving for me. I was given this computer about, oh no, what are we, well, I'm still getting this silly looking hourglass thing. Oh, give me a break. So what app am I in? That's Earth. I don't want to be with Earth and View. I want to be on this one. Right. That looks to be the Windows thing now. Yeah, okay. So that's the Windows app. I just need to make sure I can find the little next picture. Okay, so if you look, if you want to look closely, there's no back axle in this one because I actually, used this as my first attempt at pulling a Carrera 1/24th apart, and the tires were pretty lousy. I managed to get some tires for a couple of the other cars, but I've got some on order. Oh, now what are we doing? Now it's on steroids. It's gone. Oh, give me a.
Love white Microsoft.
Right. More takes than Cecil B. DeMille, yeah? Yeah, let's go back to the folder. Show and tell. Right, we've got that. Back to Zoom. It's not showing me the folder I want to share now. No, I mean the application I want to share. Is someone up next? Quickly while I try and get this sorted out.
Yeah, Alan can come back, I guess.
Well, I can come back to me if you like, because I'm ready to go now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here's the go for it, Lenny.
Okay. Oh, I'll get that back up. Yeah, sorry about that. Nothing like having an asthma attack on live TV. But anyway, yeah. So what I was saying, I lost the crown wheel at one stage. Yeah, it just fell off the hub, so I had to re-glue it back on with about 2 minutes to go before my race started. So that was all good fun. I ran the thing. I think I got about 5th in the race with it, but things have changed in the last 10 years. I think a lot of the guys are running those TTS Formula 2 cars. I think they're Marches. So they were the car to beat, I think, from memory. I didn't pay a lot of attention because I was busy with other things. But yeah, so that's basically it. It's all brass. It's nothing like I'll go back to the underside. Oh no, that's the next one. So there's the underside. It's nothing like anything Dennis would do. It's not a thing of beauty at all. It's just a blunt instrument basically for doing a bit of racing. I'm going to change the motor. I'm going to try a Playfit 4 on it because that's the motor that's allowed. There's about 4 motors that are allowed in the class. So I just want to try and get it a little bit lighter in the back end. So I'm trying to improve the handling a little bit. I think that's where I was falling down compared to the more modern stuff. And probably put some new tyres on it, I think. We've got to run the MJK urethane tyres on it. That's part of the control package for the car. So anyway, that's basically it. Sorry about the interruption. You ready to go again, Dan?
Yeah, I think so, Lenny.
Okay, mate. There, I'll stop the share. There, okay. Right, I'll get out your way.
Jim.
Guys.
Yeah, ask Jim Rose. He knows how to stop the share.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Right, share. That one. Share. Right, okay, so that's another look at the cheetah. Coincidental that Lenny should mention MJK tyres because they do make replacement tyres for these Carrera 124th or for everyone. Haven't managed yet to get one for the cheetah because I could only find the only place I could find were the ones were a slot car corner in the US, so I might have to. Anyway, moving on to the next one. That's an Audi R8 of some description. I did have fitted tyres to the back of this one, and I gave it a few laps around Dave's track when our last meeting a couple of weeks ago. And unfortunately, from here it goes downhill with the blue and yellow cars.
Horrid, absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, okay. And there's oh yes, it is nice, and yeah. Okay, these are a couple of repaints I did. This is a Carrera DTM Mercedes. I just had the inspiration to get some decos from Pato over the Christmas break, and this is the actual was a later model DTM car raced by Susie Stoddart, who's now Susie Wolf, I believe, the husband, so the wife of Toto Wolf. So that was a little bit different. So I'll put that on a Ninko chassis. I have done a white kit of an advanced slot Lotus Elise GT1, as you can see there. The colour is what I call Norcal Rosing Green, in tribute to Jim's Candy P68, Candy Lime P68. So I just thought I'd try and be a little bit coy there. This is a slotted. It was a white kit 956, and again Pato's decals. Just I've got a spare chassis that I thought I'd build up, and didn't have a body for it. So the eagle-eyed again might think that Pato's made an error in the way software is spelt, but the original car had software spelt that way. So anyway, well, yeah. And then the next bit, some of the other stuff I got along with the 24 scale Carrera cars included these old Womp steel chassis and one flexi chassis up the top there. There are 3 of these in this condition. I'm not sure where the other one was when I took the photo, but I thought, and they had Homeset, the Palmer Homeset motors in them. I thought, here's a good chance to build up an IROC class. So I'll put these back together. I've been truing some tyres up for them. And I bought some bodies, some nice little bodies to go with them from one of our local suppliers here. And these are, I think they're called Ralph Thorne Racing bodies. They fit the Womp. They got the flare guards, and there's a couple of Legend style bodies there. Yeah, okay. I think that's about the end of that. Just a couple couple of comment. Oh, sorry, I'll stop the share though. I think where we go. I'd find them on my way back to stop share up there. Oh, that was too easy. It was up the top. Now, just a couple of comments. The tyres I bought some tyres, so I have paid for some tyres for the Carrera D124s from we've got a local supplier who trades under the name of Mr. Slot Car. And I ordered these tyres well over a week ago, or no, about a bit over a week ago, and I've been watching the postal tracking go back from like a game of tennis. Melbourne Airport Sorting Centre, Southeast Melbourne Sorting Centre, then back, and the same sequence has been repeated for about 4 days. So I'm not sure whether I'm ever going to get these tyres, but I'm sort of wondering whether, because it's Mr. Slot Car, very similar to MR Slot Car, whether somehow Canada Post has got involved in it with some
USPS maybe they do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll just check my notes. I have actually bought, well as the tyres, I bought a couple of 12-volt motors to re-engine these D24. There's the RMS or somebody makes a drop-in one motor for one to so you can run them at 12 volts. And thank you also, Greg, for your digital to analog hint, explanation, which really isn't digital. But so when the car didn't go, when I put it on Dave's track, I knew to turn it round the other way, and it worked fine. So so that was something I'd paid careful attention to your notes. So yeah. Anyway, that'll do me for a while, and might make a return in Club Corner if we get a chance.
I was thinking I'd give everybody else a chance to do Club Corner before we go to Suzuka Talk. Lenny, did you have anything else you wanted to do?
Oh, no, sorry, I haven't got to take more.
Does anybody have any racing they want to talk about? We're probably going to get a lot from Wayne and Gio about the digital race at the Suzuka track, but if anybody else has anything they want to talk about, let's get your words in edgewise beforehand. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, let's see here. We had our big race, first big race of the year, the Motown Classics, Classic Le Mans, and we had, that's the t-shirt up in the upper left, actually. It was sponsored by Professor Motor as well as Motown Raceway, so I want to thank Professor Motor. It was for NSR Classic Closed Cockpit, so Porsche 90, you see a variety there. This was actually the first heat after qualifying, so we've got Porsches, 4 GT Mark 1, 2s, P68s, which was the dominant car, and Ford Mark 4s. So we had all 4 of the cars represented throughout the grid, except in the A main. We had 5 P68s. So that was definitely the predominant car in terms of performance. We had a concourse to start off with, and we had 29 entries. And when we did the concourse, it was limited to people that had painted their own cars. When we were pulling them out, we had so many. There was a few cars that were just a simple paint job with numbers. So I left those in the box. So more than 14, probably 16 or 17 of the 29 were painted bodies of some type. And some of them looked awesome. So we voted just like we did on Electric Dreams. Everybody got 3 votes. The top 3 were, there's only, I think, 2 or 3 votes separating the first, second, and third was a tie. So it was very close. My personal favorite was the second place car, which I think looks, it's not a period car, but that was a real Ford race car. So I really like that one. And obviously the winner was Ian. Ian's car was great looking. The other cars in third and fourth, Todd's and Brady's, look somewhat similar to Ian. I'm not sure if Ian painted these or not, so I don't know that. But the detailing on them was spectacular. I just personally like the livery on the white P68. When it came down to it, there's the A main grid. Herman James in the lone non P68. And it looks like, yeah, these are all non-liveried cars. So these are all white kits that have been painted. So the grid looked really good. And at the end of the day, the podium was the same as the slot at Nationals. So first, second, and third. And we had a great time. Like I said, 29 entries. We did tech behind closed doors, very similar to Electric Dreams. So what Mark, the owner of Electric Dreams, is trying to do is somewhat emulate what Electric Dreams does at big races. The format was virtually the same as the slot at Nationals, qualifying, 3 rounds of knockout qualifying on Saturday. The one thing we do different at Electric Dreams, they do the bump heat, which is the top 6 qualifiers that didn't make the semi. So you can make the semi qualifying first or second, which I qualified second actually in this race, so I didn't have to run my heat. When we ran the heats, the top 8 overall times in the heats go to the semi. That's 10. That leaves 2 more. So Electric Dreams runs a bump heat, which is the next 6. We run a full round robin with everybody that didn't make it. That's the one difference. And the reason for that is we're trying to make this fun. And the more you get to race, the more fun you have. So everybody got 2 full heats plus qualifying, no matter where you ended up finishing or whatever. So the last chance round robin, the final 2 out of that got to the semi-main as well. There's the actual podium cars. We labeled the cars with name. We put the actual names of people on them. So I think what I'm going to do at the next race is I'm going to have these little labels made so they fit up here. So they're like a real race car, like the header on the windscreen, and give it a little bit more of a realistic look. After all is said and done, this was one of the prizes. This is the top 3 cars or top 3 drivers received a car courtesy of Professor Motor, and this is the one I got for 3rd place. The 2nd place was another Ford GT Mark IV, and Ian got the pick of the 3 cars that were available, and so he took the Golf 917. So those were the podium finishers. Besides getting a very nice plaque, got a car as well. Like I said, he's really trying to pull this together, and Mark's done an incredible job and spent a lot of time and a lot of money bringing this track up to another level, quite frankly. We don't have 10 or 12 cameras. I think he has 6 now. Yeah, with switching. So if you watch the broadcast, we don't have dedicated announcers, so don't have the budget for that. But Ian and I, as well as Mark, took turns on and off doing the play-by-play on the broadcast. If you saw it, I think, obviously Electric Dream sets the standard, but it was similar to that. It wasn't quite at that level just because of the budget that they have, as well as a few other things as well. But it was great. It was on live. It's on now if you want to go back and watch it. So you can go back and watch the mains, the semis, qualifying. It's all on there. And it worked really well. So it was a switching screen or switching cameras. The scoreboard was inset in the upper right, so you could see that all the time. And various track views as well. You can see Ian's up there in this particular heat. I think this was one of this wasn't the 7. I think this was the fast heat, the last heat of the top 6 qualifiers that didn't automatically transfer yet. Mike Stahl, old-time racer, Larry Stevens, Ryder, who's one of our newest racers. He's 12 years old. Braden, Paul Hendricks, and Todd Ulrich came up from Southern California. So he was those were the top 6 drivers that didn't make the automatic transfer to the semi. As far as
blue track, Jim?
Say that again?
Is that Monday to Friday a glue track?
No, it's glued once a month because they race on it once. They race every Friday, but on the hill climb you see behind you. So it is glued once a month because they run on the flat track once a month with 24 scale cars, and then it's cleaned. It still has a lot of residual glue because this is the corkscrew that Monty Olrin built.
Yep.
Probably in the 80s or maybe 90s. I'm not sure, but it's got 30 years of spray glue on it. So it's in there. This is a sticky track. And we did run spec tires, so everybody was on a somewhat level playing field. And there weren't spec wheels, but there were only 4 wheels that were allowed. They were the 4 16 millimeter NSR wheels were the only wheels allowed. So it was semi-spec wheels. The tire was a NSR Super Grip that were molded in a specific color for this race. The color was dark gray, so they were very close to black. But when you put them side by side, we could tell it was easy to tech. So it was a tire that was specifically made for this race. And everybody got a set with their entry, and you could buy 3 or 4 more. So that's kind of how the race went. We're looking at doing that going forward. There's some discussion, pro and con, about the spec tire that we use. So we'll have to look at that and make a decision going forward. But I think it was a good idea overall. We may have to tweak a few things here and there. But the race came off great. There were no issues. There were no fights. Not that we always have fights, but it was great. There was very little conflict, if any. So it was a really, really well run, well participated in event. Going forward, there are 2 special events coming up. We race the first Saturday and the third Sunday normally. That's our regular race schedule. 3 classes per day. In May, we're going to have a big race, which I can't talk about right now what it is, but you'll find out very shortly and you'll see why. In September, we're going to have Professor Motors sponsoring another race similar to this, but the class will be for NSR Corvettes. So C6, C7, C8. We'll work on what spec tire we're going to use. It will be the angle winder configuration. They will probably be handout motors for this race as well as spec tires. Some of this is still to be determined, but that's the plan right now. So some great things going forward for Motown Raceway racing in California. So, you know, hopefully we can get some more people up from Southern California. I know there's some issues time-wise and everything else. And if, you know, you think we're in California, but Electric Dreams is 350 miles from us, so it's not a short jaunt up there. So I want to thank Todd. Quite a few others have come up for the other races, but for whatever reason, not for this one. So that's it for now for Motown. Racing, we got another race this weekend. We have a race every weekend through Thanksgiving as of now between this track, one other commercial track, and the home tracks. And so the racing is going pretty well in Northern California.
Cool.
All right, thanks, Jim. Mike, you ready?
What?
You want to do a quick corner? You put your hand up.
Yes, I am ready. As I previously said, we had good race except for the sadness of Ratby passing. But in honor of him, we raced all Fords. He was a big Ford guy and a good drag racer with lots of Mustangs and other Fords that he had. He was a big fan of the full-size Fords. Anyway, we raced all Fords in the first race, and the first race was really, really close. Shiggy and I went back and forth the entire 125 laps, and it came down to a quarter of a lap finish, and I beat him. So I felt good about that. It was hard fought. And it was won mostly on fuel. It was fuel strategy that actually won it. I backed off and waited a little longer on the one fuel fill, so I got a full ride. One of the things in PC Lap Counter is it shows that you have a full tank of fuel, but it's not quite full. You have to look at the numbers or wait for the go sign at the fueling. And I think that's what caught Shiggy out a little bit. And he ended up having to wait just a little bit longer for his fuel. And that was enough. But the cars were within thousandths of a second as far as speed goes. The two of us were so close, and passing was really tough. It was really tough. We didn't use ghost cars for the first one, but we did for the second one, and they worked perfectly. Once I had them set up with the correct lanes, Shiggy actually put them in different lanes than we thought, but it worked out. I told them ahead of time that I might have to change the speed of the ghost cars while we were racing, and to be prepared for that. But I didn't have to. It worked out great. So we'll be able to run the ghost cars normally, and everything is hunky-dory from that standpoint. So I'm really happy. The second race we did, no, pardon me, the first race we did Le Mans cars. The second race we did Trans Am cars. And we gave Joel is the least proficient in this so far. He's just started doing digital, and I gave him the Thunderslot Mustang, which is miles faster than the Pioneer and the Scalextrics. We had a Scalextric Cougar, a Scalextric or a Pioneer Mustang notchback, and then the GT350 Shelby from Thunderslot. And boy, Joel had a problem with that Thunderslot. He really did. It just had too much go for him. If he would have backed off a little bit, but he's so used to racing at Malaga with the big races where you're holding the finger down for the banking at about 1.5 seconds to 3/4, and it's a whole different ball game on my track. So that worked out well. We had a good time despite the sadness, but we'll do it again. And then last night I raced at Malaga. I actually borrowed a car because my car was garbage. And I did so. I actually borrowed one of Ratby's cars. And I didn't do him quite as proud as I could have, but because his tendency was to win the B main and go on. Well, we didn't have a main and B main, but it went okay. I finished 7th out of 9, but I was within 2 laps of the 3 places above me. So it was a fight. It was a real fight. And I ended up the fight part of it. I got knocked out 3 times in a row. Basically because I stuck my nose in where I shouldn't have, because my hand coordination with the LMP cars is crap. Blatantly crap. So, and I'm not used to and the other way it happens, I'm not used to the big jumps in it and the long fingers, long holding the finger down. So, but it was okay. It's still not my favorite. I do it mostly to poach other people to race digital. And I'm hoping I might have another guy that might show up, because Joel's threading it. He really kind of likes it. Because all he has to do is show up. So it works out great for that. He doesn't have to worry about setting up the cars or anything like that. Just show up and race and have fun. So that's a good thing. Anyway, that's all I got.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Sad times, but good times. All right. Thanks, Mike. And go ahead, Big Den.
Hey. Okay, where are we? Where's our share thingy? Back to Zoom. Yeah. Am I sharing yet or not?
Not yet.
No. Let me have this right now. Okay, share.
Need to put more coal in the computer, mate.
Hey?
Need to put some more coal in. Your steam
No,
powered computer.
it's probably the fastest. It's the fastest laptop I've ever owned, but yet it still seems to do some weird things at times. So, this was the meeting we had before Christmas. I think it was about mid-December, and 6 people turn up, and we started off with, at our shed raceway down in Lagana, northern Tasmania. 6 people, and we started off with Racer Sideways Group 5, and I think that's me on the second race. I think I ran 4, so there's the results. I was pretty well off the pace compared to the Dave and it was Brian who was second. Okay, not a brilliant night results wise for me. Off to second race, Group Group C, Le Mans. I think it was only a lap or so. Check the results. I can't remember back that far, but yeah, the same 6 races. My Mazda white kit paint job in the center of the front row there, running second. It was less than a lap in it, I think. I did stop briefly at one stage during the race to put on a car that was a rider on my track. So Yeah, that may have been just the difference between, it was a close race anyway. That might have been the difference between me being number 1 and number 2. So, and we finished off the night with LMP / hypercar, whatever you want to call it. Don't look for it, my car in the picture. I had a bad run and didn't even bother putting it on the track for the photo. So as you'll see from the results there, I was way back down. But this hypercar, this whatever it is of SRS thing of Dave's is quite a weapon.
SRC.
Yeah, SRC.
Toyota, isn't it?
SRC, yeah, that's right. SRS, we're
Yes.
going back a bit, aren't we? Yeah, I've actually got the white kit of the Scale Auto 963, and I found the motor that was in that was just too hard for me to handle, and I put a down rated the motor a bit, but I haven't even had a chance to run the thing yet. Okay, so anyway, then we moved on to a couple of weeks ago. We had a good start to the year, January the 25th, and we had 8 guys turn up. So that was a good start to the year. Dave always seems to wonder where all these yellow stickers go. And it's because people finish on yellow, they tend to leave them on their cars. And I've got about 4 or 5 sitting on the box at home that I must take back to him next week. So again, I think that was Peter, Dave's father, that won the day there with his that Lancia. What's this here? Lancia beat, is it not a Beta, Lancia something? Stratos, that's it. Yeah, that's quite a fast car. It always has been, and just sticks like glue. So looking at the results, Peter had a clear win there. I'm number 3 in the list there, but I actually missed out on track position, so I didn't get a podium in that one. I just a little bit behind Leon, and then we brought in back to Revo slot GT2s for our second class. We phased out the LMPs for this rotation of classes. So it's the first time I'd actually run my Corvette in a race in anger, and I was quite happy to get second with it. It seemed to the tyres will start work well once they got bedded in. The track was in really good condition, despite not having been used for 6 weeks. So we were all pretty happy with that. And on the results, Dave had the win. What was he running again? Oh yeah, he had the McLaren. They go quite well, those McLarens. I was within a lap, so again, fairly happy with that. And the results were pretty good across the top 5 there. And we finished off the night with Group C, and again, I grabbed a second place. So it would be nice to grab first, but I wasn't all that far behind. So less than we're on the same lap. So, and Brian he's been around the scene, with one of the other Launceston clubs that we raced years ago, and he's getting up towards the sharp end most of the time. So I'm going to stop the share there. We have another race due this Saturday, so bit of luck, I'll be back online fairly shortly and be able to keep you up to date with what was going on there. Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect. Go ahead, Lenny.
Okay, just a quick one. We started racing again at Spitfire Tuesday night, and I didn't get any results. I forgot to take photos of the things, but anyway, just by the by, young George here, he's had a birthday on the weekend, so we bring out a muffin and shove a candle in it, and he gets to blow the candle out. And the old muffin didn't last long. I think he inhaled it rather than ate it, because it was gone within about 2 seconds. But he claimed he was hungry because everyone was going, "Where's our bit? Where's our bit?" But it didn't happen. Anyway, just by the by with George, George is legally blind, but he comes along every week and has a race. He can make out the movement of the car. So but he can see enough to be able to race. So well, kudos to George. He's a good lad, and I just thought I'd highlight him today on the share. And if he's watching, g'day George. Happy birthday for last Sunday, I think it was. And see you next week. So that's it for me. on that, so I'll stop the share. But I don't know how old he is. He looks about 15 there, but I think he's a bit older than that.
Could be 12.
Just by the by, then those tyres you're looking for your, what was it, the cheetah?
But the cheetah, yeah.
Yeah, you looking for the rigid? You looking for MJK tyres or?
Well, I mean, I was looking for something that, yeah, I don't particularly, just MJK used to be the go-to for, well, they were the go-to for the other 3 cars I had, so.
Yeah, well, I've got a PDF here of all their tyres that they make. It's about a year old now, but I can send that to you if you want.
Oh, I've looked on that, and they see that they show it on there.
Right.
Mr. Slot Car is sending. Pardon me, I'll call it from you, Lenny. The cough. Mr. Slot Car. I sent them the measurements, the various steps on the rims, and they found something that was going to be close. So, if and when my parcel ever turns up, I'll try and make them fit. So,
I know War Raceway's got a good selection as well because they're basically a direct feed to Ian at MJK. So Ian is in there. So if you ever need anything like that, I can ask for you.
Yeah. Okay, Doug. Thanks, Lenny.
That's the former Thunderbird Raceway. It's now called War Raceway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mike Foy's is the man. If you want to speak to anybody on that sort of stuff.
Okay, I'll put that put that in my sticky notes. Yeah.
Yeah. Enough of the parochial stuff. Let's get on with something else.
All right, let's let Dewan get some talking in.
Hello, everyone. This is a new mic. I hope you can hear me okay.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, this past weekend, we had the second race for the Firehouse Lock-Car Club for the 2025 year. And it was once again held at the Claremont Raceway, Jim Weissman's place in Claremont. And we had 2 races, and they both were Regal slots. It was the Group GT2s was first, and the Group 2s was the second race. And we ended up with 22 racers. So it was a really nice outing, and I'm sure you guys have seen this track before. They have the unique Le Mans start and everything. And in the first race, well, let me just give you a little quick. In the first race, I had a M3 that I was using, and the car was okay. Of the 2 cars, my Group 2 was my favorite car, and in practice it was people were really taking note of how fast the car was and everything, and so I was kind of really waiting for that race to come on. But in the first race, I finished 13th. Let me go ahead and bring it.
Sorry, Dewan, are you changing slides because we're still looking?
I haven't yet. That's why I'm just realizing that I hadn't. So let me it's not a slide. It's actually going to be a little quick
video.
But it should show okay, I think. Nope, didn't want to do that. Very far right here.
And he's got license now?
Yeah.
Godzilla.
You came out twice here.
I know, but
You were very from 4-9 to 4.
That's Jim right there. He's the owner of the track. And I'm going to get to the results next. So this is the results of the first race, and Jim finished 3rd in this race. He was using nothing but loaner cars, but of course this is his track, so he's gonna definitely do well. Kevin Tabucci was the winner, and Eddie Shore was second. And again, I have down here, you can see myself finish 13th. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. So that was for the first race. And I did win a heat. He actually gave out little stickers that you normally get that they were doing at Lucky Dreams for winning the heat. He was giving out stickers to the winner of the heats. You don't get one sticker per day, and so I actually won a heat for this race. I can't remember. It must have been on the blue lane, I think. No, where was that? I can't see. My best race was probably was the blue lane. I don't know, but anyway, so that's that one. And then so the next race was the GT, the Group 2s. And like I said, that was my favorite. That was my most confident car coming up in this one. And I got to tell you the story about that one. Jim mentioned that on his track that the only, and I can show you this. Go back to right here. Oops. The only, can you see my arrow?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we can't see my arrow. Okay. Well, he says that there's only two track calls on his track, at his track, and that one of them is when you come off in front of the drivers because you're coming out of a turn, and sometimes people don't wait until they get straight on the turn, and they end up hitting the floor. The car goes out on the floor, and I did that last week for sure. So, and that doesn't happen that often. And he says that only 2 times in the 13-year history of his track has the other location for track call occur, and that's right at the turn underneath the bank. So you have the bank, and then right under the turn underneath the bank right here, if the car comes out right in that area, that's a track call. So in my Group 2, the one that I was so confident in, my very first lap around, I get slapped out right in that turn, right down there at the bottom of the bank. And he had to, it takes a little while for him to get the track to actually trigger the track call. And then it probably took about 2 to 3 minutes or so to get something to push the car far enough so someone could reach it to get to it. That I was the third person out of his 13-year history of having my car stuck down there and forcing a track call. So when we got back on the track, I actually came out 2 more times on that first lap. And obviously I finished last for that heat, and I'll just go ahead and fast forward over here to this. So I finished last in that heat. And then pretty timid and everything for the next heat. And then the third heat, I kind of got my confidence back and everything. And I went and led the 3 guys, the 3 of us racing. But I went from cradle to grave in first place and won by over a lap and never came out. And I got my best performance. And I was really actually driving quite conservative. I had a lot more that I could push into the car if I would have desired to. So anyway, I finished 17th for that, but I did have a decent lap on the third, the decent heat in the blue lane. And I think I could have got another lap and a half out of that if I wouldn't have been so conservative. But staying in makes a world of a difference, and I never recovered from that first race of the heat, of that first heat of that race for me. But anyway, I felt good and was building my confidence. I won 2 heats out of the 6 heats that I ran. That's it for me. And you can see that the winner this time around was Jim. He had his own car, and he completely outdistanced everybody. 2.5 laps or 2+ laps out over Eddie. Yeah, he was doing 38 laps on each, and everyone else was in the 35s, 36, and 37s and stuff. So But and then so basically Jim and Kevin switched positions from the first race to the second race, and Eddie finished second in both of those. So that's it for our club. And I know a lot of people going to Electric Dreams this weekend for their grand opening on Saturday. I don't think I'm going to make it down there for that, and it's a little challenging for me. So I'm going to stop my share. I think I'm going to stop my share, so I'll figure out how to do it.
I got you.
Oh, you already done it.
All right, so I assume that we have a big club corner from Wayne and Geo. I don't see Geo anymore.
Wayne has left the building.
And Wayne is gone too. Maybe they went. Hold on, are they still here?
Wow.
It's super late for
MIA.
Wayne.
Yeah.
There's only 55 minutes left. Wayne didn't have enough time, so he left.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Oh, maybe they'll come back on. I got racing tonight, so I'm gonna leave and stick you guys with John. So here goes the switcheroo, and then you can.
You're racing on a Wednesday, huh? We're at.
We're racing at Allen's, so Scale Racing Center, Tacoma.
Okay.
So if you want to see my group racing, such as you can through his cameras, go onto Scale Racing Center Tacoma YouTube and go watch it. But I'll be there in about an hour, and you guys can watch that later. See ya.
All right.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
See you later.
Oh, so no Wayne.
Yeah, I can't believe Wayne left us. My goodness.
So did Giovanni. So did Gio.
Yeah, so did Gio. Yeah, right. Is he kind of in the same time zone as you, Lenny? Because he's in New Zealand.
No, he's a couple of hours before me. He's about 3 hours before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's further east than we are, so the sun rises sooner over there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Gee whiz. Oh, but we have Courtney, which is good. Courtney's back.
Oh, yeah, hello, Courtney.
Can I just throw a little anecdote in? Last night we were racing one of the classes. One of the guys kept coming out at the same corner, and he says, "Is there something in the track?" And the marshal looks at him and says, "Well, it certainly ain't your car, mate."
Gosh. Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, geez. Holy cow. Cool. So, has anyone got anything else that they want to show or talk about?
Got a couple of new cars.
Oh,
Courtney
please.
looked like he moved.
Actually used cars, but they're new to me.
Sure. They're new to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it, John.
If I can remember the name of it, Spirit Ferrari 512M. Beep. There it went. Okay. It has these little
Wings.
winglets or wings or spoilers or something. One of them has been broken. They didn't say anything about that, but that's okay. I'll fix it. Anyway, it's pretty cool.
They are nice cars.
So John, those winglets actually move? They're not glued?
Yeah, they're hinged, sort of
They
hinged.
just pop in.
Boy,
Yeah.
they really look fragile, very fragile. And this one that just fell off has been broken, and it actually fell off when it was packed or something, and I thought it was gone. So I started panicking with the person. And anyway, that's one. And this is a Carrera, and it really looks nice. Lancia,
No,
Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo.
Ada Monte Carlo.
Yeah, it's extremely low. I was really surprised, and it's really not all that heavy. So with a little bit of work, could probably get it down to get it to run a little bit more quickly. But it's this one is an analog version, but I have some digital cars I can draw the parts to convert it with. So I'm going to do that for the.
Do you run Carrera Digital, John?
Excuse me?
Do you run Carrera Digital?
Yes, there are a couple of guys here in town that that have Carrera digital tracks. One is a Carrera regular plastic track, and the other is a wood track with Carrera machinery.
Do you race with Eric Pugh?
Yes, occasionally. Yeah. Yep.
I need to come up and race with you guys. When do you race?
I'm not sure if they're having a race tomorrow. They've had races in the last 2 weeks. His brother Gary has
Gary is the man. Gary builds Gary's the boat racing guru.
Man, he does woodwork with that very fine not masonite. What am I thinking of? Stuff you make the wood tracks out of.
Oh, MDF.
Yeah, MDF. Yeah, and wow, he has some.
I want to come up and race with Eric, but I want to go when you're racing.
Well, I was going to race here lately, but I got a bad ankle and I tweaked the heck out of it, and I also tweaked the hip. So
you can be my pit guy. You can be my pit guy.
Okay. I'll bring a big can of WD-40 and hose it
and
down.
the cars. I don't have any digital cars, so
they have a bunch of digital cars that they're happy to loan. That's what they did with me before and they have some rules for their running, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Yeah, that'd be cool. Both nice fellas. These are tracks that are in a exterior building garage, and now let's see. Eric's is not in an exterior; it's in the house garage that's built into the house. Gary's is further away, but they're both very nice. So anyway, that's all I have.
Nice. Now, John, is that the way the car came from Carrera, with it being that sort of slammed, or did someone do some work to it?
No, I think it's stock as a clock.
Yep. Oh, okay. Wow.
So that's one of the things that attracted me to it, was that it's not working. When you look at the profile of a 911, for instance, a 935, this seems to me to be have a better profile. So anyway, it's a really pretty model too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice.
Yeah, their bodies are they're lovely.
The tempo on it, it's really, really nice. I have out here too. I've been looking at a slotted LC2, and the Carrera tempo is just as nice. I mean, it's just as good. There's just virtually no difference in the quality as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah, it's too bad they're so heavy as a rule.
Yeah,
because they make decent looking cars.
We'll see. Maybe things change sometimes. Maybe they'll come along.
I just got to put on a little bit of a diet. That's all.
Yeah. Yep.
The Dremel diet.
Where's Gio when we need him?
Yeah, I know. Really. Yeah, both Gio and we were here. We were hoping to get their report from their 6-hour race, but they've left. Perhaps they've started their own channel. You never know. Wow, cool.
Jeremy, they might be working on their next car.
Yeah, it could be.
Or on the lights for the next car, if nothing else.
Yeah, that would be Gio. Yeah, that would yeah, absolutely. I was just wondering if Jeremy had any new projects that he's been working on.
Nope. Sorry.
What, are you all snowed in up there or what?
No, we have an ice storm tonight, but it's kind of treacherous driving right now, but nothing exciting.
No.
Oh, it's good weather for indoor stuff, though.
Yeah.
Cool.
You should come up here. You'll come down here. We're expecting 40-degree days. That's 40 degrees Napoleon, not freedom measurements. So it's about 100 and something degrees.
Wow.
Ooh. Is it a dry heat or a wet heat?
Oh, where we are, it's dry heat. Up further up north, where the heavy rains are in Rockhampton, where they got flooding at the moment. That's the damp heat, or what? It's monsoonal, basically.
Wow.
Tropical.
Oh, geez.
High humidity.
Sorry.
High humidity up there. But they've got major flooding going up there. That's right up the far north of Queensland, right up the top on the left. Sorry, on the right.
Right. Okay.
The map.
Wow.
I've got directional dyslexia, Den.
Well, no, but you guys are upside down to begin with, so it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's natural.
It's
okay.
I used to rally and I always used to get my left and my rights mixed up, and my navigator claimed that I had directional dyslexia. I'd be here in the corner and she'd be going left, the other left.
That's funny. Snow, you have your hand up. What have you got for us, sir? Oh, you're muted, sir. You're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I would just thought I'd show off my U2 under 2.5 liter proxy car. Fly body. Fly body. Was a custom brass chassis.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Nice to see a bit of brass.
Yeah. The right here, you see this little angle thing here?
Yeah.
That's a spring. There's urethane tubing on that. So it allows it to pivot.
Okay.
Nice.
Nice.
So is that steel and brass?
Yeah, it's wire and brass.
Oh.
Yeah, no why.
And if you see,
Okay,
if you
so
look
how
at the
does
front,
it run? How does it run?
well, real good. I can't complain.
Okay.
I tried something different on this, and instead of using our front axle tube as round, it's square. So by putting the axle in it, it's only touching on 4 points instead of all the way around on the tube.
That's a favorite Chris Walker trick.
It is, yeah. I picked that up from Chris. Yeah.
It rolls really free on the front.
Yeah, but having the back end slide around, that's what's interesting to me.
Yeah, it don't slide around. It sticks pretty good. I've got the motor in it's a slim can. I don't know if you can see that, tell that in the picture or not.
Yeah, I got you.
It weighs 72 grams. The body is 14.85.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
Which body is it?
Which my body was 14.85.
It's a fly body, fly alpha.
Okay. That's cool. They're good.
Yeah, they're very nice.
I like the alphas. It's a little bigger than the Revo Alpha. The body is. That's all I have.
Cool.
Very nice.
And when do you plan shipping that one off?
I don't think they're due for another month and a half yet. I just got it done early.
Head of the curve.
Yeah.
I had a question for Dennis from earlier when he was showing that interior. That came, I'm sure, plain, and you did all the painting?
Yeah, that interior was just a clear molding, and then Bruce Fry, who's the guy who did it, what's going on? It's freezing.
So it's like a lick sand?
He did all the painting, yeah.
Oh, he did the painting, or you did the painting?
No, I didn't do the painting. No, I can't paint like that.
Oh, that's okay.
Just look at the instrument panel.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah,
on the steering wheel, right? And then the driver's uniform or his overalls, with this checker pattern on it, all done in matte colors.
Oh, look, he did the stitching. That's awesome.
with all the stitching, yeah, and the belts.
The label
And
of the
just look at them.
extinguisher.
He did a fantastic job on it. Ah, that's better now that it covers my face. It's much better. Right.
Okay. And he
Yeah,
just does that as he's a hobbyist. He's not retailing that type of stuff.
he doesn't retail them now, unfortunately. Well,
Yeah.
here and there he might, but there's nothing that I could point you to a website or anything like that, unfortunately.
Who did that, Dennis?
A fellow by the name of Bruce Fry, Frye, and he's a local racer down here in California. I've got another one of his somewhere. Where the heck is it?
You could tell him, Dennis, he could make tens of dollars selling those.
He could indeed.
Absolutely.
Which is
There
why he
isn't that
doesn't.
much.
Which is exactly why he doesn't bother. No, he
Smart
does.
man.
Oh, there's another one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See that one even better.
So what are you gonna put those in?
I'll find some 1/32 scale vac form bodies that the next time I'm painting something, I'll use them. That one I could probably cut up and use in a 1/24 scale Formula One body. Maybe I'll see how I go. But yeah, he does some really, really nice work on, and
I like the decal on the fire bottle. That's pretty cool.
yeah, and it's hand painted, right? I mean, it's not.
Oh, that's not, hold on. That's not a decal. That's hand painted.
Hell no, there's no decals on this thing. It's all hand painted.
Okay, hold it up. Hang on. Let me just spotlight you again. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Wow!
Okay.
Wow! And he's doing it from the inside out.
No, these
it's on top.
He will do it from the outside down.
Oh, okay. Good. See what I was saying. You're painting letters and things like that in mirrors.
They're not. I mean, they're not letters. If you try to read them, you'll find that there's nothing there. But it's such a good representation at
absolutely
at that size,
Well, especially since you're putting it in an interior as well.
Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous. Side of the car, though.
Say again?
You're sitting in the passenger seat, the driver.
Not in the US, he's not. Yeah, I mean,
it's more of that down under stuff.
Yeah, colonials. Yeah. Courtney was missing when I showed this earlier.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Hang on there, Dennis. Let me get that for you. There you go, sir.
Now I'm trying to get out of the way. So that was the one that I was showing you before it was assembled. Right.
Yeah, this is your friend from South Africa, right?
Yeah, a guy in South Africa, a friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine. I've known him since the 1970s, and he took a chassis design that came from a fellow by the name of Brian Saunders in the UK, who used to race back probably 10 years back, and he took one of those chassis and modified it slightly, and he's just finished this version, which is for brushless racing. So you can see that it has a
the mount, the motor,
a motor mount now, yeah, and the control board will probably fit in here in this area between the two lead wire guides. I wouldn't put it back here because I may still put a spine in. There's a little spot that you could put a center spine from the top of the rear bracket onto that wire guide there. And so just if I find that the chassis is flexing too much this way and bouncing, then I'll put a little spine in there. But yeah, it came out really nice.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I've just got to put it. I want to get it into my bead blaster now, and just bead blast it to get rid of all the little bits of excess solder, and then I'll tumble it for a little while so that it really gleams and glistens, and it'll be good.
It looks good.
And I've got the motor and a speed controller coming from Germany for it. It's kind of
which one?
It's a Doslot 17,500 kV motor, and the new Doslot Frankie electronic speed control.
Well, is it the guy in Florida importing the Doslot stuff?
If he is, he's not up to speed right now, so I still get my stuff direct from Sebastian in Germany.
Okay, that's good.
The guy in Florida is a little flaky to deal with, and here, if you want to deal with an American, then you need to get hold of Ken Lenz at KC Racing in Michigan, because he has a lot of his own stuff that he's had, motors that he's had made in China and so on, and developed, and he's got a lot of brackets and all kinds of things, and he used to have the SBM boards, control boards that Bob Budge and Richard Mack developed, and nowadays he has the Westrock boards that come out of New Zealand, and he also has I think some of the Doslot boards as well, but then he also has his own Remora board now. There is like an open source speed control, slot car speed control board for brushless called Remora, REMORA. And there's a number of people making them now to the original design. And the nice part about them is, for some people, I don't know that everybody will be happy with it, but they are, with the right interface, they are actually programmable from an app that you can put on your smartphone, so that you can adjust some of the parameters of the board. I haven't started playing with those yet. I'll do that at some other stage. But we've got a race coming up the end of the month that's going to be for 124th Eurosport, 132nd Eurosport, Formula One Eurosport, plus a couple of other classes. And those three that I mentioned are all brushless classes now. So
You can run.
So I'm going to play with this one for that.
Well, I think that Doslot is a good choice. The hot guys were running the NSR stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a car with an NSR motor and board, but I really don't want to pay that kind of money again.
Right.
And no, I mean it was like $380 for a board and a motor. It's crazy, right? Whereas now, I think the stuff that's coming in from Germany now for me, and I didn't take the 21,500 kV. I took the 17.5 because I didn't think that I needed all that performance. But those motors are €20, right?
Right.
And the board was a bit more. The board I think was just under €40, and then there's €16 or so for postage. It's not a bad cost for the kind of speed and performance that you're going to get. There's no other way to get that at that price.
No, not at all.
Anyway, so yeah.
So what body are you putting on top of that, Dennis?
They have a very specific, when you run Eurosport, it's a single body formula, and they have a vac formed Audi R10 replica that they use for that. Have to go fetch.
I'm sure you do your own paint work to it.
Yeah. I'll fetch one. Hold on.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Cool. Oh, and Phil joined us. We have quite the complement of people from down under today.
I bet you his body is silver and blue and pink.
Wild guess. What a wild guess.
Phil's body?
You talking about my body?
No, your body is wrinkly and white.
All right, so
it needs an on. That's all, Courtney.
How do you know that, Courtney?
Lucky guess.
So that's that is the current body that's being used. It's as I say, It's a single class. Let's see if I can get a little bit more detail.
You're right.
It's a single body class, and it's supposed to be an Audi R10. It's kind of close, you know. If you squint a little bit and you look at it kind of skew and you think about it, you might be able to get an Audi R10 out of that. But the big deal about those bodies, and the reason why they always have one body, is that the rules are very firm about what the rear end of the car looks like, the shape and steps of the rear wing or the rear spoiler, things like that, the length of the body and so on. But yeah, that's what they look like.
That's very cool. Oh, there's the pink. Okay, we can see the pink now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Of course,
there you go.
always.
Do they have a concourse as well?
They do, and I never get anywhere close to concourse judging because some of the guys put some really, really fancy paint jobs on those bodies.
Well, maybe if you put one of those interiors in, you might have a chance.
Yeah, true. There's a guy down in Argentina. His name is Juan in Ianoco or something like that, and he paints the most fantastic things. Beautiful, beautiful bodies, all paint, no decals, and as light as you come. Never any excess paint on the thing, you know. But it's all masked and sprayed from the inside, airbrushed on, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about those is that one crash and you're done.
This car has done a whole national championship event, qualifying, and a 300 lap main event.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. What thickness are those bodies, Dennis?
These are 7,000 thick.
Yeah.
The 5,000s ones don't last, but the sevens will. The sevens are okay.
I tried a few of them when I was running wing cars.
Yeah. No, I would rather give up just that little bit of performance that you lose with a 2,000 thicker body, just to get something that lasts.
Not much difference, is there?
The 5,000 bodies, they come apart for nothing. In fact, some of the 5,000 stuff, especially like on the little Formula One, the 130, the Eurosport Formula One cars, where there are some very deep areas because it has that center, like a center airbox, and then very deep sides, and they pull so thin there that if you put the paint on too thick, it just breaks the body up. Right? If it's a lacquer paint, like a PS paint from Tamiya, it crinkles, it crumples the body. They're really bad. I hate those things.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Dennis. And Jim, you have your hand up, sir.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw this, but this was on a couple of the social media outlets the other day. These are slotted motors.
Yeah. Oh, didn't know that he was doing that. Yeah.
So it's all in German and it's actually translated with a voiceover. So it's up on YouTube, but they are made with a bolt pattern to bolt into slotted pods. So there's no adapter required.
Yeah, because the ones that I did, I had to make an adapter.
Yeah, these obviously bolt in. There you can see there it says slotted on them.
Yeah.
Maurizio was actually showing these, so we know it's a real, it wasn't fake.
Yeah.
And so it's coming. I didn't see any time frame. I can't imagine it's anything real soon, but so it's coming. Frankly, I don't see why we need it in what we do, but it's coming.
So how light are those motors, like compared to a conventional?
Half, Dennis?
An 1106 motor, and what they mean by that is that the stator of the motor is 11 millimeters diameter and 6 millimeters long. So one of those, that's an 1106 in the back of this car. The motor and the board weigh half of what a long can NSR motor weighs. So they weigh like 12 grams total, board and motor.
Holy cow.
They are Well, they're just so unbelievably small, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Are they superior?
I think
Sorry,
you have to
John, say
define
again?
superior. Define as superior.
Well,
I don't know that we
we're
have a
talking about
problem to
racing.
solve.
Are they faster? Are they
can
reliable
be.
enough and faster?
It depends. It depends on how you define it, right?
The rule set.
Usually there'll be a rule set because there are any number of these kind of motors around. Okay, there's one. All right. That's an 1106. It's the stator inside is 6 millimeters long and 11 millimeters diameter.
Wow. So that's very tiny.
Very, very small, right? And it's the outside of the motor that turns, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're called outrunners. So the
Yeah,
outside of the
RC motors
motor
are just RC motors are just the opposite.
Yeah, they're regularly inrunners. But that motor and then its control board, or here's one with a control board. So you've seen the size of the motor. And then, all right, so there's a control board. This is a Westrock control board, so it's quite big. And there's the motor, right?
So the control board takes up more space than the motor.
Almost, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, John, look at it here. You know how big those pods are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now here's I'm going to ask a really stupid question on the sidewinder and the angle winder, because the weight seems to be to one side. Would that really do anything to the handling of the car?
Well, it probably just gives you a lot more space to balance it if you wanted to add some weight there. My experience so far has been that it makes no difference whatsoever.
And I think the irony is if you're having to add weight.
How about the torque reaction of that rotating mass when you get it kind of canted for instance, the angle winder?
I don't think that there's any more torque reaction than there would be in a regular motor with an armature inside it, right? Because the armatures are a lot heavier. A regular armature is a lot heavier than that rotor. Because basically that rotor's like a little 14 millimeter cylinder with 12 little magnets on the inside of it.
And maximum RPM for each type?
The RPM of those motors is determined by the way in which the stator is wound, the number of poles on the stator, and the number of poles on the magnets. So they're usually what they call a 9-pole or a 9N 12P. So it has 9 magnetic poles on the stator and 12 magnets around the outside. And that's what makes it turn, because you're putting 3 phases of alternating current through it, through 3 phases in 3 places to make the 9. And then it just basically every time the signal changes and the magnetic field reverses, it pulls the motor around a little bit more, kind of like a stepper motor, but much faster, right? And that's what the board does. It basically just commutates the DC into AC and feeds it into the motor so that it turns.
The basic rule of thumb is the kV rating times the voltage is the RPM.
Correct.
So if you have a 1700 kV motor and you're running on 10 volts, it's a 17,000 RPM motor.
Except that the motor that I was talking about was a 17,500 kV. All right. So if I run that on a 10-volt system, that thing has an RPM, a maximum RPM capability somewhere in the region of 170,000 RPM.
That's insane.
So the motor I've got a motor that I've put into a slotted little 911 GT1 Evo, and it's a 2000 kV motor, which on a 12.5 volt power supply or on 12.5 volt track like at Electric Dreams is giving you around 24,000, 25,000 RPM. they don't give the it's not a perfectly linear relationship, but it's very close. And it performs like a 25K motor, right?
So as far as braking, does it brake just as well?
They don't brake quite as well. The ones that have 12 magnet rotors, they brake pretty well. They're a little softer and they have a little less startup torque than a comparable short can motor. What you do find with them, because of the fact that you have this little board that's controlling them all the time, as the voltage drops on the board, eventually the board switches off and the car actually coasts just a little. But by then it's going so slowly that it probably only coasts 8 or 9 inches. But yes, you do lose the brakes right at the end. And of course they have so little inherent friction that if the car comes out the slot and it's running on its rear tires and its guide, they don't stop it. They just glide merrily down the track.
Yeah, we have a lot of brush tension, which is friction, and when the car leaves the slot, you've got that inherent drag in the system, and you don't have that in a brushless motor.
Yep, and the same thing happens if you turn the power off on the track. If it's a track call, for instance, you turn the power off. It doesn't matter what your controller does, because the board dies, and when the board goes to sleep, the motor just coasts.
You get half a lap that way.
So some of the latest boards that are coming out of Latvia and places like that now have gone back to having a capacitor on the board that keeps the board alive so that it can keep the brakes applied when there's no power coming into the board.
Well, yeah, because if that happens with a track call, you could potentially have more D slots.
You do have D.
Yeah, I experienced that last night. Put the car on the floor.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of D slots like that in cars on the floor at the World Championships.
Yeah, lots of it. And especially and then of course, when you get to those super high RPM motors, which are no longer have 12 magnet poles, they only have 6, because it moves they've only got 6 sets of magnets inside them, so they move twice as far around the 9 magnetic poles of the windings for every variation of the phase, and therefore they're doing nearly twice the RPM, but they have half the torque and they have half the braking. So yeah, this car, which has that 6-pole motor in it, it doesn't brake anywhere near as good as some that I have that probably have a very similar stator, but 12 magnets and only do half the RPM that this one does.
But a lighter car will brake quicker too. So you do get a benefit of a lighter car, which brakes quicker.
Yeah, you can't.
So there's
you
all kinds
can't see it, but if I just spin the wheel, and that's spinning against the motor, it just there's almost no resistance, and that's through the gears.
Jeez.
So back to the original question on performance and reliability, that's not an issue.
The only issues that we've seen with reliability so far come where people have not really installed the electronics very well. That they've used too big a soldering iron to solder the wires from the board that go to the motor, or from the guide that goes to the board. Or they have used one of those tiny little plugs, and the thing's drawing too much amperage and it's burning out the contacts inside the plug. And then, of course, if you do get an overload somewhere, something jams, you break a gear, you get the body jammed in the gears or something like that, you can blow a lot of electronics, which you probably wouldn't do on a regular motor. The motors themselves are very reliable. The only 2 things that I've seen so far with the motors is I had one where the bearings went bad, and I pulled it apart and 2 little 5mm by 2mm bearings back in it, and it runs just as good as ever. And then the other thing is where the 3 leads go into the motor, you're going from a flexible lead onto there's a solder joint there onto the copper wire that's wound around the stator, and I've seen those break. But also again on one motor, not one of mine, one of my.
But it really doesn't sound like it would have an application for like a 55-foot plastic track for home use.
I don't think so.
Well, I think yes, but you're talking about Eurosport where there are $500 motors that have to be rebuilt every run.
Yep.
And we run $12 motors or $14 motors that last a long time. We don't have an issue.
No, we don't.
We don't have a problem. Yeah, we don't have a problem to solve. So I don't see them viable for 32nd scale slot cars.
No, I don't either, quite honestly.
For Eurosport, absolutely.
Oh, you know, in the old days when you go to a national for Eurosport, you've got maybe 4 or 5 $400 to $500 motors just for one class, right? So there's this, and then when you're done with that event, you take those things home, you open them up, you take the armatures out, you send them off and get them rebalanced. You have the commutators recut, you put them all back together again. You got to break them in again. It's new brushes, new springs, all kinds of stuff like that. It's a very expensive business.
Do you think the difference in economy will get maybe some people back into doing?
It will. Yeah, I'm convinced of it.
For that level, yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
I know Herman James. Herman James, Dennis.
Yeah.
He told me one time his budget for a big race like a Worlds was $2,000 just for the motors was $2,000 per class.
Yeah. No, it's not a cheap thing.
And I don't know that might be low.
So meanwhile, so that $2,000 now can be replaced with what, like €100 or something, Dennis? Is that what you spent?
Well, I mean, the guys at this year's Worlds and last year's Worlds running in these things, they ran the same motor in 1/32 scale in the Formula One Eurosport, and then they took it out of there and put them in the 1/32 scale Eurosport, same motor. Practice, qualifying, races. The 1/24 Euros, they were using a different spec because it was a lot faster. But even there, they used one motor for the race.
And
for the whole event.
Didn't have to rebuild it.
No, take it home.
Well, that was my next question. Like, what about the wear and tear? So you don't have to rebalance them or do any of that old stuff?
I think eventually, once people start to really get into it, they'll start trying to rebalance and so on. They don't lose a lot of balance because the only piece that's moving is the rotor with the magnets in it. So the piece that's getting all the heat, which is the
windings aren't rotating.
The windings, they're not rotating. I mean, some of those motors, and that's part of why they're lighter, they don't even epoxy the windings, right? Because you don't need to, because it doesn't move.
I heard they were actually rewinding motors at the Worlds just to try a different combination.
Yep.
Wind number of turns or whatever. You just rebuild it on site.
Right.
You don't have to balance it. You don't have to. Well, you have to get it correct, but you don't balance it. You don't epoxy it because it doesn't move.
Yeah.
It's the can that moves.
It's a whole different ballgame, but it's fun.
And the can doesn't change. I mean, it's a metal can with magnets in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change.
I think the cans aren't the cans machined aluminum.
Yes, but they have. I think there's maybe there's a magnetic ring around the outside, John. Certainly the end caps of the motor are aluminum.
Right.
But the piece where the magnets is that is magnetic as far as I know. Yeah. I mean, you could feel it from the outside of the motor if I test it. Yeah.
And the RC motors are different because the RC motors, the windings are in the can. The can stays stationary, but there's a plug that goes through there that just looks like a plug with a dowel through it, and that's what spins. So there are two different types of that's called an in-runner, the other's called an outrunner.
The radio control ones look a lot more like a regular motor, except that the magnets turn on the inside and the wires are stationary on the outside.
Yeah, that plug that goes through the middle essentially is the magnet.
Yeah. And of course, the radio control ones, because they're bigger and they have more space, they have probably 5 wires coming out of them because they have position sensors inside the motor, which our ones don't.
So yeah, I mean, I went through it with RC racing and it revolutionized it. It was a little tough in the beginning. And then, well, the other thing that happened in RC racing is the people that were building the speed controls, then they figured out that they could advance the timing on the motor through the speed control electronically.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had these stock motors that were super fast. And then they finally got together as an association worldwide and decided we're going to create this rule set, and it's called Blinky. So if the speed control blinks, it's legal, and it's not doesn't have any altered timing applied to it. And it's been pretty effective as far as I know, keeping the speeds down for a stock class and people not cheating that way.
Yeah, that's always the big deal, and that's part of why in the non-Eurosport classes there's still so much resistance, particularly here. That people are, you could cheat this, you could cheat with that, we don't want to do that. And I'm saying, okay, but you're quite happy to run a $500 or $600 controller.
And it's not a problem in Eurosport because there are no rules for the motors.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody's cheating because there's no cheating to be, you can do whatever you want to.
How do you cheat in a class with virtually no rules?
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, they're talking about, what I was talking about is people saying, we don't want them in our Thursday night LMP racing. Right. Because you could cheat, you could change this, you could change that. And I'm saying, if you really want to cut costs, then let's go back to racing with 4-ohm Palmer turbos and leave your $500 S&K or $1,000 S&K or your Courtney's Cobus. Leave those at home.
Well, here's a, and again, a neophyte question, but do you have to do anything to the controller to use these motors, or you just
no, but there are some controllers, electronic controllers, that don't work because the board and the two can't talk to each other properly. So there are some controllers that just will not work with brushless.
Most of the current PWM controllers have a lot of trouble with brushless stuff.
Yeah. I have a third eye, and it's kind of like an on-off switch. The motor, the controller knows what to tell the motor to do, but the board doesn't know how to interpret it.
Yeah.
For lack of better.
Yeah, well, that's a very good explanation, actually.
So they're talking different languages, and there's no translation, basically.
Eric Rodriguez from Joy Racing, the guy who makes the Synapse controllers, he's working on a combination of controller and board that will use PWM technology and will be able to do it. And the secret is.
So what are you using at the track? 2 wires or like what kind?
No, you use a regular controller. I mean,
resistor controller works fine.
Believe it or not, you could drive one of these brushless cars, as Jim says, with a 4-ohm Power turbo, and it works great. Right?
Again, for simplicity's sake, I don't know the exact things, but a regular resistor controller changes the voltage to the motor, and the motor knows what to do with that. A pulse width modulation, the motor is always at or the voltage going to the motor is always 100%. It's just cycling on and off until you get the variance in speed. And the boards don't know what to do with that when it sees 100% all the time.
Yeah. And I've tried. I mean, I've tried running one of my brushless cars with one of my PWM controllers from TrueSpeed. As soon as you tap on the throttle, man, just one crack, open one segment onto the board, and that car is gone.
You may as well be using a set of alligator clips for your controller.
Yeah, you could use a doorbell switch, right?
Exactly.
Or a doorbell button.
So that's the issue with the controllers. Not all controllers work.
And then the other thing is that when they do break, the back EMF that you get out of the motor has a very different characteristic to what you get out of a regular DC permanent magnet motor. So you need to have really robust components in the braking circuit. So things like the DeFalcos that use those big old ohmite high wattage resistors or potentiometers in their brakes, they work fine. As soon as you go to the ones that are used for 132nd scale cars, where they've got the fine wire inside them, those very often blow. And other controllers like the Carsteins and the Third Eyes and one or two others that use a field effect transistor as the switch in the braking circuit, they also have some trouble. Now, I know on my Carstein I've had to upgrade a lot of the components to protect the controller from the back EMF of the motor when it brakes.
Wow. So it's like 3 steps forward on the motor side and a couple of steps back on the controller side.
Just compatibility. So.
How it works, right? Yeah. How it works.
Dennis, I was wondering, do you have anything to share with us? Inside track on what's going to be going on Electric Dreams this weekend?
All I know is that I will be in there tomorrow because Marco needs my help to get the track ready. The track is, as far as I know, ready. I don't know what the rest of the store looks like right now, but it should all be ready.
There's a lot of big announcements coming.
3 o'clock Saturday afternoon is the start of the party there.
Yeah.
Is it going to be live streamed at all, or
I don't know, John. It may well be, and I don't know that.
I'm guessing it. Let me read the email and find out.
that would be really cool if it was, because I think it would be like a nice thing to
It
show.
would, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been in there yet, but the guys who have been tell me that things are looking really impressive in this
So
store.
you don't have any sort of little peak photos you can sort of wet our taste buds with?
Like I said, I haven't been in there, and Marco hasn't been sending me anything lately. I think I showed you all the last photos that came up with the new mezzanine floor that's been put in and so on. But there's been a lot of work done since then.
Yeah, they were still working on it at that point, right?
Yeah, they'd only just installed it.
Wow. So there's
I don't have any more, but next week I'll make sure I take some photos this weekend.
He says if you're out of town, check out our YouTube channel, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
There you go.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, we should. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Says 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., maybe longer. We'll be bragging about the major renovations, the new track and so forth. So all kinds of stuff happening.
I think got a couple of business announcements to make as well. So
yeah, for sure.
There's going to be some good stuff going.
Any emissaries coming, or?
I don't think there are any emissaries coming. Certainly not from Europe. The next time we will probably see emissaries will be March when the Scale Auto Challenge happens. But even that Scale Auto Challenge is going to have some new bits and pieces this year as a result of having the extra track.
Okay, very interesting to find out what's going to go on with
and
that.
The other thing, of course, is that once the flat track is up and running, it'll be a spray glue track, so it'll be a foam tire track primarily.
But I'm going to miss Herbie.
Say again?
I'm going to miss Herbie.
Yeah, I'm going to miss Herbie too. But there's a bathroom where Herbie used to be.
Yeah, Herbie the love bug from not the original Love Bug movie. That
was the Lisa Lohan movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. That car is sitting in the corner. It's been there ever since I've gone there. So
well, it is no longer. It's now, I think, housed at either at the Stockholm Museum or in one of the owner's various warehouses. But yeah, it was there, but it had to make way for a new bathroom that's been put up right in front, so that people don't have to wander through our store to get to a bathroom.
So now, when they have an event, will it still just be on one track, or will they rotate tracks, or?
I think that you'll find that there's going to be certain events on one track. Certain events are going to use more than one, and some of the events are going to use all three at once.
But that's a great idea, because
some of the big enduros at the end of the year are probably going to use all three tracks. So you're going to have 20 lanes to run, right? 212, 2 and an 8.
That's the way it was. It was 2 tracks, so you had to run all. With
12
lanes.
The December enduro we ran on 2 tracks. Yeah, we split the teams in. We had 12 teams. We split them into two, and we ran an hour on each track, and then swapped over and ran an hour on the other one. It's quite interesting.
That's very
kind of like the 24 in Tacoma. It's a 14-lane track essentially.
cool. Well, listen, we're going to look forward to your little report, and I urge everybody, if you can, get on YouTube and look at the live stream.
Get on YouTube and see what's going on, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff. And it's exciting because it's great that we have, or Electric Dreams has an owner who's prepared to do all of this and sink this kind of money into it.
Absolutely.
Because, man, this is
really cool.
It's not cheap. It really is not.
It's going to be a big year this year for racing in California, both northern and southern.
Oh, I'm sure he'd be the first one to say it's a great way to maintain a negative cash flow.
Sure, yeah, which is probably why he's doing most of it. Yeah, it's a tax break. But yeah, I mean, the new flat track got repainted, and there's $500 of paint on that track, right? Because it was
new braid.
New braid, yeah.
Not magnetic braid anymore.
Wow. And the 6-lane wood track is not magnetic braid either anymore.
Wow.
It's probably still cheaper than a 60-foot yacht.
Maybe just.
Yeah, but he may have that too.
And we love him for that.
Well, he would have to maybe sell one of his helicopters to get a 60-foot yacht. But...
All right,
one of the Can-Am cars or one of the F1 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, on that note, I'm going to end the stream here.